Are we on? General, I have to tell you at the outset, I've rarely been as impressed with a witness's preparation and grasp of the issues as you have demonstrated here this morning. You've really, I think, thought deeply about a lot of these issues, and I want to start with a more conceptual question. The conventional political position through the 80s and 90s and perhaps the early part of this century was we don't want to militarize space. My concern is that this administration may still be holding on to that concept to some extent, and that train has left the station, has it not? We have to react to the militarization of space that's already taken place by our potential adversaries.
Senator, it's one of my primary objectives to make sure that a war does not extend into space. That's not a good day for the United States. I believe the best way to create a deterrent capability to prevent that is to have a credible force that can both deny benefits of those actions and impose costs where necessary. That creates doubt in our adversary's mind that it's a good idea to start attacking capabilities in space.
But the implication of what you just said is that we have to have both offensive and defensive capability in space in order to have an effective deterrent. Is that correct?
We certainly need to defend what we have, and if we're going to protect the joint force from what the adversaries have already put in space, their space-enabled targeting, we're going to have counter capabilities.
I appreciate that, and I hope that you will argue that effectively in the administration, because this is, as I say, that this train has actually pretty well left the station. I wanted to follow up on a question that Senator Cotton asked and just sort of tie it up in a bow. General Raymond said that the joint effort, unity of effort between the Space Force and NRO has worked well, and that the two entities should remain separate. Is that your position?
I think because there are two organizations, that allows them to focus on different requirements and different customer bases. The key will be to how they collaborate where their mission sets get close. And I think it's in that collaboration where we make sure the right lanes in the road, the right authorities, the right funding, so that we're not overly redundant, that is going to happen in detailed collaboration.
Is there a formal process by which that collaboration is ensured? In other words, are there monthly meetings or communication back and forth? Because you can say collaboration, but if you're not talking, it ain't going to happen.
Yes, sir. There's an executive committee that meets routinely. Both are parties and members of the Space Acquisition Council, and both are parties to what we are calling the Program Integration Council, which is even a lower level organization, committee that gets together to talk about requirements, acquisition strategies, to make sure that we are meeting the mission requirements of both without being overly redundant.
Thank you. You've had a lot of discussion this morning about innovation, which is, as you suggest, is absolutely critical to the mission of your agency, perhaps more so than any agency in our government. We've also talked about, Senator Kramer asked about smaller businesses. We've had testimony before this committee from innovative smaller companies, particularly in Silicon Valley, who basically said, we've given up responding to the Pentagon RFPs. It's just too burdensome, the process is too lengthy, too expensive, and so we're losing those suppliers. I would hope that you might meet with, take your 20 smallest companies that you're working with, pull them together and have a discussion about how they feel about the process, and are there ways that can be improved. I'm concerned that just the nature of the Pentagon acquisition process may itself be an impediment to smaller companies even getting into the game.
Senator, we can't afford to lose those contributions. So if confirmed to CSO, I would definitely explore opportunities to get their feedback to make this a better process.
Final question about, and you've touched on this, about culture and recruitment. You indicated that you're not having any problem with recruitment. I guess one measure of how you're doing is how many Air Force Academy graduates, when they leave, want to join the Space Force?
More than we have slots for.
So that's a good sign in terms of their view of the future in this area. I said that was the final question, but I thought of another one. A lot of your space capability, our military is based upon, in many ways, space capability, GPS being the best example. Do you not believe, however, that we need to be sure that our military has the capability to effectively deploy and act without GPS? Because that may be the first thing to go in a conflict. I've heard that they're teaching celestial navigation at Annapolis, but I want to be sure that that's the case, because we could be blinded in the